Elon Musk says he has a new plan to take down the evil bots that are promoting topics and conversations online in favor of corporations and their crazy franchises. They protect DEI from DIEing by making it appear that there is far more support than there really is. But will Elon's plan work? Will he be able to actually go after the corporations that are doing this? Today, we turn to the man who cracked the code originally and showed the world what the bots were up to now. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are so happy to have you today as we continue our exploration that is explaining entertainment, keeping you ahead of the culture curve. Joining us today for the very first time on the channel is Retro Nerd Girl. Welcome aboard.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
And we also have the man, the legend. He is not a myth, though. He is the one who cracked the code on these new bot systems that use blue checkmark, quote-unquote, verified accounts that are linked to bank accounts, vast sums of money behind them, but they're attached to bots that are manipulating social media. Master of the TDS, welcome back again.
Thank you for having me again.
All right, let's get into the topic at hand, and that is Elon Musk has responded. And TDS, I've got to say, once again, huge shout out to you because you are the one who brought this to the forefront, and I can only presume that Elon Musk is talking about, although not mentioning you directly, talking about what you have discovered, and what you've discovered has been incredible and in-depth, and we all owe you a debt of gratitude for figuring this out, because these bots were kind of manipulating the conversation. Elon Musk goes after accounts using bots to farm engagement on X is the title of this one, out of that Park Place. And it says, as we have been reporting for weeks, a vast conspiracy of paid accounts on Elon Musk's social media platform, formerly known as Twitter, has been utilized to manipulate trending topics, visibility of ideas, and quiet critics of corporate products. In what appears to be a tremendous number of verified blue check accounts purchased by a third party via long dormant accounts on a black market, corporations have been able to bypass efforts to tamp down on fake accounts posting praise for their products and services. Social media analyst Master of the TDS has been at the forefront of discovering how this new effort developed and was stood up by companies seeking to control online narratives. And once he had discovered the process, Musk was quick to take action. You can see that TDS, you were on this, and this is just one of many, many, many posts. You've been doing this for a long time. Also, folks, make sure you check out Gothic Therapy, where Master of the TDS has been posting about this. But this is the response that Elon Musk finally gave. And this is not the first response he's given, but this, I think, this has the most potential for impact. We'll see how it's implemented. But Musk said on April 19th, any accounts doing engagement farming will be suspended and traced to source. So that is very, very interesting because in the past, Elon Musk was suggesting that he would go after the bots, that X would go after the bots. Now, Elon Musk is suggesting he'll go after the corporations that are using the bots, and that's different. So, Master of the TDS, let me start with you. Do you think that, one, do you think that that will be effective? And two, do you believe that Elon Musk will follow through on that, given the ramifications could be huge?
I want to believe he'll follow through on it. Unfortunately, I do think he has followed through. People say, oh, well, the bots are the same. No, they've changed recently. You might be getting more bots that don't just say link in bio on Twitter. They now have images because they can't do the same things, which means that there are some fail safes in place. So do I think he's going to do something? Yes. Do I think it's going to be effective? I don't know. That depends on what exactly he's trying to do and whether or not it's going to be something that will actually have wide sweeping consequences for these, botting accounts. If we see something similar to what happened for the bot purge, where we have a couple of days later, they're already getting around it, then yeah, we'll see a change, but not by much.
Very interesting take. Retro, when I'm online, I can't help but notice that the world seems very different. Now, maybe that's just because I don't live in Portland. Maybe if I did, that would change my viewpoint. But it seems to me that some of the products and some of the services that people are praising online often isn't what I would, not what I hear in real life.
Yes.
And what we've come to realize is that a not insignificant portion of that is coming from bots that are bought and paid for. And I'm just curious, do you think the average person understands to any degree that the visibility and trending topics and all that is seemingly being manipulated by corporations, and it's not like coming about organically from average people just posting their thoughts and ideas?
I think most people have an idea that maybe something is going on, but I've personally seen accounts that only have existed for a day, and they are very active, saying a lot of positive or very negative things on X, and it's very, I don't, who's going to do the research to find it? It looks like Master of the TDS is doing that, but I think when we encounter it, most people just feel like it's something much bigger than what we can deal with, so to speak. So I think that most people know that something's going on. We don't know what, and we don't know who is actually behind it. But I've always had the suspicion that certain media companies want certain outcomes, and their whether it be negative or positive impact on people who are talking on X. There are a lot of activity. I personally notice.
Retro, do you think that's similar to what we've seen in the past with Rotten Tomatoes and some of these other
Oh,
places where people just no longer trust that stuff?
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm actually very untrusting of Rotten Tomatoes. I respect the company, but I also don't trust the company, because it is one of those things where I feel like most of the reviews are very sketchy. I don't think that they're accurate to the movies that they are reviewing, and not that I like a movie or not. That is getting either a good score or a bad score, but as critics, like some of the critics sort of all say almost the same language, and it just kind of makes you go, well, what's going on here? Everybody's using the very same language, and their scores seem to be very unfair. And most of these individuals have gone to film school and know what it entails in making a film. So it always in my mind, I'm always thinking that some of these results are not accurate. Um, but again, proving it is another situation.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because here's a situation. TDS, you help us out with this. This is in regards to the Pokemon Go debacle, where they have taken the characters inside this video game and they've made the female avatars be very much less feminine, and they've made the male avatars be very much less masculine. And what you wind up with is something along the lines of what we expect to see out of games that are interfacing with uh, consulting groups like Sweet Baby and others. Now, here are responses that are being made to Pokemon Go, which is overwhelmingly receiving massively negative reaction. And folks, we're no stranger to that anymore, right? We've seen what's happened to Star Wars. We've seen what has happened with Star Trek. We have seen what's happened with Marvel. We have seen what's happened with so many of our favorite TV shows, movies, and games. And so we know how this works. What's different here is that, people are beginning to catch on to this bot situation. And so we have someone taking an image, sort of like you've done in the past, TDS, and they say, look, here are bots. This is all, Pokemon Go is attached to bots. And so we have these that say, got to catch them all, your own personalized Pokemon Go avatar, talk about trainer goals. Wow, good initiative for new avatar. Keep going. Finally, a chance to make our avatars. That's fantastic news, being able to make your own avatar. Pokemon Go just leveled up a new avatar. Yada, yada. But TDS, just because a company, and we're not here to defend Pokemon Go by any means right now. What they've done is as dumb as I think you can get. But just because accounts that look like bots are responding doesn't mean that they're bots, and doesn't mean that company has paid for the bots. And that's where this is going to get very confusing for Elon Musk trying to untangle this. So what do you know about the Pokemon Go situation versus what we've seen with some of these Disney properties?
So what I see here, so I've been tracking various different kinds of bots, and I believe actually now I've upped the amount to, I believe there's 7 different variations that I've seen on Twitter.
Wow.
These are a lesser common one, but I've actually seen these same kind of bots in the articles of most game journalist sites. So for example, IGN was one of them. What these bots I would call, the term I use for them is what is sophisticated reply bots. And the reason I'm using that here is because I actually went through this exact thread because people were tagging me in this and saying, hey, there's bots here. You should take a look. So I did. There are only 4, because if you look at this, there are 5 messages here, but one of them is by the same account. So technically there's only 4 bots responding. Now 4 blue checkmark accounts ain't like nothing, but it's not something enough that's going to boost this up. So what is the purpose of this? Simply put, normally, a lot of these accounts, if you pay attention to it now, especially with IGN and other these gaming sites, their interaction on X is abysmal. It is so bad now that they actually need a little bit, not much, but a little bit to make it seem like they're still somewhat kind of relevant. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but these kind of bots are ones that will, and I don't know how they do this, will scan kind of what you're saying and will respond with some approximation of what you're saying. So they'll try to make it sound like something that is relevant to what you're saying. It doesn't always work, but I think this is another example where we see these bots that are scanning the post and kind of spitting out some kind of chat GPT gobbledygook that seems like a person, but is just enough off that you go, something's not right here.
But in this case, it doesn't appear that Pokemon Go, even though they are in a huge mess, again, as a result of joining in with these consultation companies that will destroy you with utter artistic excrement, but it doesn't appear that Pokemon Go in this situation is using bots themselves. Is that fair?
Yes, because I actually, of course, whenever these things kick off, I always like to look into to see what's going on. Is there past history? Is there, current history? And again, I haven't done like a super in-depth dive on this, but from what I've done, and I've done fair enough research, I have not found anything conclusive to Pokemon Go using bots, at least not in the more recent past. It's possible that that I'm missing it. It's possible that there's something that I haven't found yet. But as far as I'm concerned, with the parameters that I've been able to find bots, I have not seen anything.
This is going to be the tricky part now, because these companies that have used these bots so extensively, now everybody, because of what you've done, now everybody is watching all of these companies and saying, where's the bots? Where's the bots? Because they've set themselves up for failure. So just like Retro, just like you were saying, the average person no longer trusts Rotten Tomatoes, so it's lost its utility. They've done the same thing with the replies to corporations. Let me show you what you've got over here, TDS, that I think is so fascinating. You say, and I'll zoom this in so everybody can see a little bit better. You said, update on the bots. Thanks to the help of Snipey Shino. Am I saying that right, or is it Snippy Shino?
I believe so. He made an account recently, but he actually works with Upper Echelon. So
we were able to run another node map on an account involved in promoting Star Wars Outlaws. The account, which is Balut Bay 44, has recently been suspended, but we do have some information on it. According to the data, that account shared bot followers with 2 other accounts it was mutuals with. We cannot conclusively say they are bots, but it is unusual for 3 people to be followed by a massive cluster of the same people without any of those people following each other. And folks, we're not here to make any kind of additional claim of certainty either. And then you say, from the node graph, you can see that the purpose of those followers was to send traffic to those main accounts, which appears highly suspicious. And then you've got this, look at all of these connections. Let me go to Retro, though, first on this topic. And that is to say, one of the fascinating things to me is that if these companies just made good products, they wouldn't have to go to these crazy levels where perhaps they're reaching out to, some kind of shady company in Bangladesh, where they're farming out bots to try to make it look like people are excited for their product. They could actually just make a good product, and then real people would really be excited about the product. Retro, why do we live in a timeline where companies have decided that they don't want to make good stuff anymore, and they just want to make stuff that appeals to a fringe minority of people who do not represent the vast majority of folks who just say, I want good content again.
Yeah.
What has happened?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's enough room for everybody to have the content that they want. Just don't don't make it so that way the people who are currently enjoying or have previously enjoyed a specific franchise or a group of entertainment to not like that stuff anymore because you've changed it. Make the content for them, and also make content for your new group that you want to entice
That's the
and bring
exact
in.
correct answer. Exactly.
Don't
They don't
try
do
to
that.
mix the two together. They don't belong. Or not that they don't belong, but they're obviously not the same customer. So you can't, sell you can't sell beer to a recovering alcoholic. You know what I mean? You can't give the
You
wrong
can, but it's not
customer
moral, that's
the
for
wrong-
sure.
Yeah, yeah. You can't give the wrong customer, the wrong product, and that's what they're doing, and I think this is why they're getting into a lot of trouble.
And
with,
Retro, what they want to do is they want to take these giant franchises,
mhm.
but then they want to take them and make them be for a group that hasn't liked them in the past. And when they transform it, they want to transmogrify it in such a way that the group, that did love it looks at it and says, well, it's not the same thing anymore. Why did you, it's like you might like bubblegum flavor in Coca-Cola, but probably the majority of people are going to say, no, I'd like to have my regular Coca-Cola flavor back. Thank you very much. And I think that's where we are. And that's why we have to have these bonkers, crazy bot systems now in place to manipulate people, which is just one of 50 different ways we're being manipulated now. But TDS, explain what the heck we're looking at right here. What is this?
Oh, yeah, this is fascinating.
So what you're looking at is, again, hypothetically here, because I can't prove it 100%. What you're looking at is a bunch of accounts. As you see all those lines, all those lines, those purple lines are going to two main accounts, which have also both been suspended. Again, it seems like more and more lately, any account that I make a post about or a video about seems to get suspended shortly afterwards.
And by the way, TDS, this is why those who denigrated what you were doing or tried to dissuade you, I think I'm glad you persevered anyway, because what you've uncovered is significant. Continue on, please.
Yeah, I'm glad I did too. As you can see, all these accounts, if you look at them, the issue here is these are all a ton of accounts that are directing traffic towards those two main accounts there. Now, the issue here is if you look at it, none of those accounts directing traffic are following each other. So what you're seeing is a bunch of accounts that have all decided randomly to direct traffic only to those two accounts, not to each other, not anywhere else, just all to those two main accounts, nowhere else.
And what does that succeed in doing for them?
It succeeds in making them appear like they have actual engagement. It bots their posts. It makes them seem like they have a following or they have something like important to share. Whether or not this is directed about like Star Wars Outlaws, I don't know. I do know that the account that we found is definitely connected with Star Wars Outlaws. It did promote them, but let's imagine for a minute that this was for Star Wars Outlaws. We can't prove it because the accounts are gone, and even if we could, we can't see everything they posted. But if you look at this, imagine that was a bunch of accounts directing traffic towards two other accounts that are only talking about Star Wars Outlaws. Can you imagine the kind of trend that you could create on social media simply by doing that with the flick of a switch?
Yes.
And then you can out-trend the criticism. That's what I'm paying very close attention to, is because the topics that trend and the topics that have visibility, they don't exist in a vacuum. They're going up against, the counter arguments. And so this is a way to try to achieve a false majority online when all you have to do is make a good product and release it into the world, and it will generate positivity on its own. So TDS, let me put you on the spot for just a moment. none of the companies or the products that you might name do we have any knowledge of them actually paying for bots. That said, can you name for us some of the products, some of the franchises that you've been following that are being conversed about heavily by bot traffic?
Yeah, Star Wars, Marvel, Disney, Warner Brothers, Ubisoft, Rocksteady, and a couple others. There's even some that I've even really brought up because I haven't even dipped a toe into it, but I'll mention one here. Netflix, heavily.
I hadn't heard anything about Netflix, so that's good that you're bringing it up.
I haven't even dipped my toe into that because that's a whole other can of worms, and I'm just like, let me deal with what I got first.
Yeah, and I, again, reiterating, folks, we do not know which companies are paying for this. We don't know the economics behind it. TDS, if you had to guess, looking at all of those accounts, what kind of money are we looking at that's behind this effort?
So it would be significant. The issue being that even if it is significant, it's less significant than it would be to pay for advertising. So if you're, for example, Disney, and you want to advertise, which again, they had to recently kind of come crawling back and advertise again, which they kind of tried to hide and it didn't really work. But it probably, I don't know for certain, but it probably costs a significant amount to advertise on Twitter/X. But if you pay a bunch of bots to do it for you, it's potentially cheaper. And with these third-party sites that exist, which I'm not going to name because it's not a how-to guide, but with these third-party sites where you can buy batches of bots from different years on sale, you can literally just do this fairly easily and fairly cheaply. So there is a significant amount of money behind it. But when compared to the money that you pay for advertising, it's quite less significant. And that's the problem.
TDS, one of the reasons I think we all owe you some thanks, everybody, is because you uncovered this before the political season. This is not a political channel. We're not going to go into politics. But it's fair to say that if one side at least engages in this, like if they're already doing it with entertainment companies, you better believe that it's either happening or it's going to explode in happening in terms of politics and all over the world. And then we're all stuck arguing with synthetic voices that aren't even real, about politics and being manipulated to the high heavens by, all of these shady, dark interests that we don't understand. And, you want to talk about a dystopian world. How about your great aunt is sitting there on her phone all day arguing with bots that she doesn't know are bots, trying to explain why she's voting for somebody. Now that's a bad place to be. Retro, though, I would like to end on a positive note because so here's my question to you. Out of all the stuff that we're kind of having to muck through lately, there's so many companies that are making such terrible decisions. Brought up the Pokemon Go situation. That is just nobody with a brain cell should have ever allowed this to get, to where it is. Yeah. And the reaction tells you everything you need to know about it. So Retro, what are some good franchises? What are some good properties out there that you're enjoying that maybe viewers of the channel could tune into and go, you know what? You don't have to sell me this with a bot. I actually watched somebody reel on Pro's channel and she said this is good. And I watched it and you know what? It's actually good.
Well, I mean, all of those companies are actually, they actually have some content that you might like. It's the stuff that's popular that's probably going to get the most, their push. The content that is definitely going to get their push. But some of the other things on their platforms are okay. Like Amazon's doing some good shows and movies, and Netflix is doing some good stuff, different things for different people. And I think just my advice is also look to the past too. There's a lot of really great old movies that I'm discovering even today that are just really amazing content. I saw for the first time Shrek on Saturday, and that was so entertaining and just great. So there's a lot out there. There's so much to enjoy, and just go and find it. Sometimes you have to shut off social media, and just look at stuff with your own eyes and make your own judgments. Critics are great, but even the best critics don't always agree with everything 100% with what you believe in. So just go and look at your own, watch movies, enjoy life, get out there and just seek the stuff that is going to make you happy. And a corporation, they have their own interests in heart. So just explore for yourself.
Retro, a fun statistic that I have heard and I'm working to verify, but I never take these things at face value, but it is an interesting statistic if it turns out to be true, is that right now 60% of streaming viewership is of content that's 6 years old or older. So that's interesting. And so we'll keep following that. Guys, I think that follows a pattern of music. I think it follows a pattern of gaming. I think we are all looking back to a past that unfortunately was better, and that's not the way things are supposed to go. But when you're looking for it to be fixed, when you're looking for the right way to make things better, you can listen to Retro when she tells you to follow your own thoughts, your own intuitions on what to watch, and you can follow people like Master of the TDS who actually get out there proactively and figure out who's messing the stuff up and how are they doing it. And both voices are highly valued. Thank you both for being here today.
My pleasure.
It was great to come back.
Absolutely. And TDS, another congratulations to you. I understand, TDS, you're going to be bringing out some more content in regards to the bots. Do you have any kind of plan that you can share with the folks out there?
Not right now. Jewish holidays coming up literally tomorrow. So going to be a little hard to put out content until then, but I am looking into potentially working on a video to explain more about where these bots come from and how they're easily accessible. And then I have a couple on the back burner that I've been working on. One in particular about Star Wars, one about how they're using bots to promote their parks, especially Disney, and one about how they're using bots to promote their Marvel comics as well. But those are way down the line. So
based on the video I did yesterday morning, they need it for their parks, attendance crashing, and we all know that Marvel Comics is not doing well. Retro, what do you have coming up on your channel soon?
Just reviews and watch parties, that kind of stuff. If you're not familiar with my channel, I do a lot of retro movie reviews, and you can just stop by the channel and see if there's anything there that you might like.
Folks, we surely do hope that you will go subscribe to both of our guests today. You are missing out on great content that can be coming your way if you don't go click that subscribe button. And the way that YouTube has been acting recently, you need to be subscribed to some of these channels so that you can see their stuff pop up. Folks, as we always say, like, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It's the notification bell. Drop a comment down below and let us know your thoughts, because we covet your comments. I mean, we like you. You're human. You're not a bot. And folks, if you are of the Jewish faith, we are wishing you a very meaningful Passover and sending you all of our best thoughts, hopes, intentions, because we know it is a crazy world right now. And in that crazy world, we encourage you to continue learning, growing, and you know what? Keep having fun.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to fills and those with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things. Hold up. TPP is the place to be. Covering the news so honestly. It's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Line. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got Weird bringing in People like Flora, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fat Steven makes a bunch of all the graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Sky is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news. That should be fun. With accurate info that's not been spun. You can figure it out as you will see. The TPP is the place to be.
Yeah, Wilton. That was actually pretty good, or White. But I think you might have forgotten Vash.
Well, he lost all his friends. But it was implied.